Tonight, can't we get right? Tonight, can't we get right?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Julian. How are you?
Good evening. Good. Yourself?
Yeah, cool. Me too. Wow, such a nice bright pink wall.
Yeah. Super pink.
Is that in your house, in your room, or where?
Yeah, it's actually my room. When I moved in here, it's my girlfriend at the time. It's her room now, so we have to still paint it, but we're moving out in about a month or so. We're getting out of here, so that's good. No more pink room for me. It's actually not even pink. It's more like a salmon color, but my phone picks it up as like a pink color.
Oh, I see. It's a really nice background though. So, okay. So, Julian, it's really nice to meet you here. I think this is the very first time we talk. And we've already planned the talk like almost weeks before. And I may not be able to introduce you fully, like how you will introduce yourself better than me. So I believe that you can take this time to help us know about you more.
Sure. So my name is Julian. I'm from Montreal, Canada, and I help businesses stand out in their respected marketplaces by bringing their culture, their values, and their stories to the forefront of their aesthetic.
Cool. So your background is from the very first start is a designer, is it? Or
yeah, definitely. Actually, so if you want, I can give a small little story of my overall background.
yes, please.
I actually started as an electrician out of high school, so completely not in design at all. I always was a creative at heart. I would go home and use Photoshop pretty much ever since I was like 12 years old. The first Photoshop, I would use it just to play around. And out of high school, I was kind of lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I never thought that design could be an opportunity or a way of, making money. So I said, you know what, I'll take the other way out. I'll become an electrician and I'll make my living that way. And I did that for about 3 to 4 years. And while doing that, I would go home and find myself doing work for small businesses like local clubs, local businesses, small projects here and there, nothing big. And I said to myself, you know what, why not just go in on this and go back to school and learn design again and see what happens. So that's what I did. I quit my job, which was a great job, but I quit it anyway. To pursue what I loved, and that was design. So I fell in love and graduated design school, and basically I took a 6-month hiatus and I went to Southeast Asia actually for about 6 to 7 months.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I lived there for a little bit. I actually never made it to Indonesia. It was on my plan.
Where did you went last time?
I went to Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. But I was supposed to go to Indonesia, but I just never went. I stayed too much time in Vietnam and I regret it now.
Yeah, you should go to Bali though. Like
It's too touristic though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's not. I like being like in the culture with the locals. That's my favorite.
Oh, okay. So cool. Next time, I mean, you got plenty of, I think, future to come back here.
It's on the books. It's on the books.
Yeah, even though you're in Canada, which is very on the top. Yeah.
Very, very far.
But I really appreciate you to make this time because I know that's early in the morning at 9 a.m. there. And this is the very first time I do the live at night. So yeah, had those of coffee just now. But yeah, so it's a very exciting topic to speak about, and I believe this is also your passion, and you've already crafted and created a lot of contents, even in your social media channel, and maybe some of the part. And maybe I'll just run through a little background study here towards the topic that we're going to talk about, and then you can give us some perspective from your side about how to develop content. So I think since the rise of social media usage like around the world, somehow brand and businesses owners have been so intentionally look out to pull up some branded content that combats the disdain of traditional advertising. And because the market is very saturated, and somehow they are looking for new ways to connect with their audience and impact them in a creative ways to convey their values. And in a short brief, somehow branded content itself, what I think is like a branding and also acts marketing technique that involves creating content which is linked to a brand that allows the consumers to make the connection with the brand. So maybe right now, like, can you give us some perspective on how to develop branded contents that are suited to your brand identity, and name us some maybe effective ways on how to do it?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, you hit it on the nail. Right now, the main goal for a lot of brands are how they can connect to the audience, right? So they're using social media in ways that are exactly doing that, showing their values, showing what they believe in, showing things that inspire, motivate, and kind of have people coming back. I'm noticing a lot of brands, but especially big brands, they never, ever are posting about their product or their service, at least not at the beginning, right? Until they get their name out there, they're understanding who the audience is and really showing that value. That's how I'm seeing it now. And it's becoming a big trend where a lot of new brands are pretty much coming into the scene and kind of fluctuating in the sense where they'll do like 80% of motivation, entertainment, or inspiration, and then maybe 20% of showing product or service. So that's kind of the trends that I'm noticing at the moment.
So with all the trends, do you think that brands should just like follow, or maybe how to somehow generate a content that is suited to your brand?
Can you repeat the question?
How to come up like how to have a content strategy to suit your brand identity with your content?
How to come up with a content strategy that links your brand identity with your content? It's an interesting question. I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to your audience and who they are. I mean, for myself, my whole strategy is basically talking truth and not kind of following the herd. So for me, a big step of what kind of I feel differentiated myself from a lot of people is I kind of went against the grain, not necessarily on purpose, but I feel as though a lot of people are in their own way rebellious and they have different ideas and they think differently, but unfortunately they're too scared to actually talk about those topics in a different way. So I think that's what kind of set the tone for myself was, you know what, I said, I think it was about 5 or 6 months ago, I told myself I'm going to just talk whatever I believe, and whatever happens, and it came out to be great. I mean, a lot of people are scared right now to talk about what they actually want to say because they're scared of how other people are going to perceive them and scared to go up against, the bigger other people in the communities. And that's not to say that maybe against is a very aggressive word, but it's just a lot of people have a lot of different ideas and they're afraid to kind of talk about those things just because of, the flow of the community and stuff. So I think for me, that was a big point.
Wow, that's very good. Like, when you are talking about speaking the truth, I believe that, like you said, the truth are usually hard to digest and it's usually nerve-breaking to speak about. But in terms of personal branding, like the way how you portray it to be, you can sound and you can voice up everything that you experience so that people, maybe some people that experience the same thing, they can relate. But what about like corporate brands or brands that just need to be, like sort of, they say a content that is more human and like more personality? Do they have to be that risk-taking as well?
It depends on what the brand values. I mean, there's a lot of brands that can be risk takers, a lot of brands that can be safe. It really comes down to what they value and who they want to be portrayed as. So, at the end of the day, it really comes down to who they want to target. That's the end of the day. It's who they're trying to target, who they're trying to talk to. If they're trying to be rebellious and if they're trying to be, risk takers, then they will have an audience that are like-minded individuals and are feeling risk-taking and rebellious people. I mean, you said it just right now, the truth, but the truth can be different to a lot of people. It's as long as you're talking your own truth, right? So for me, I talk my own truth, and that not might be the same truth for you. It might not be the same truth for other people, but for me, that's my truth. So I think that for me, it was a big breaking point. And, here's another third thing is that you also said experience. And I think that's another key point to what my strategy was at the beginning of my journey on Instagram specifically. I would do a lot of, reading and a lot of digesting. And then I would do a lot of regurgitating, in the sense where I would just read books and books after books after books and kind of just like spit out insights about those books. And although that can be very valuable to people, it's not relatable to people. So what I did was I shifted that strategy and I started talking about my experiences as opposed to what I'm just like reading, So I kind of started focusing more on, okay, so how did I would put myself in scenarios that I've gone through, and I'd say, how did I, go through that scenario? What worked for me? What didn't work for me? And that's where I started getting a lot more connections with people, and they started actually caring about what I had to say, because I would talk about my experiences as opposed to other people's experiences.
Mm-hmm. So it is actually very powerful. Like, it's a very powerful tool, like in terms of individual to like being able to stand up on their feet to just share their own personal journey to other people, right? And I believe that will also impact and influence how brand flows as well, because what I believe that brands are not just like organization, they are also organism, like people that are involving in there. So basically, even just the CEO or maybe the founder needs to have that share tool in terms of the content, rather than just to craft like a beautiful content and then somehow it feels like making up a doll and for other people to accept and embrace that. But okay, maybe there is one question that I want to ask you. The first one would be like, how to choose the right media channel targeted for your brand and audience? Because we know that there are a lot of channel streams like YouTube, social media like Instagram, Facebook, like there's so many multi-purpose channels. So how do we really pick and target the right one?
Always comes back to the target audience. Where are they hanging out? Where are they hanging out? That's it. That's literally the question is, if you do a study and say, okay, well, my audience is going to, let's say you have a demographic bracket, or you have a little bit more insights of who your audience is, and they're mostly on Instagram, well, then your focus should be on Instagram. If they're going to be on Facebook, then your focus should be on Facebook. If they're going to be on specific forums, which a lot of people are on these forums, then your focus should be there too. I'm working with a client now that basically the approach is, we have a few platforms because we know that's where some demographic audiences are going to be on, but we still fiddle with other platforms just because we have the content, right? So, I mean, for me, casting a wide net is good, but if I'm going to be specific, I'd rather be specific on where I know my audience is going to be, or where I believe they're going to be, especially at first. It's hard to kind of pinpoint where and when your content is going to go viral, especially if you have good content. But it's super important to focus the platforms that your audiences are most likely going to be on.
All right. So how did you come across that? Okay, my audience is in Instagram.
Surveys. So at the end of the day, we have to figure out who the audience is, right? So if we figure out that they are between the age bracket of 30 and 45, and they do, let's say they're single mothers that are working from home or whatever, then we have to go out and do services. And there's a lot of actual third-party services that actually provide that, where you can go in and connect with them. And basically what they do is they ship you a bunch of people within that target audience. And then you can survey a bunch of, let's say you do, a small bracket would be, let's say 100 people. A big bracket would be like 500, 600 people. And you survey those people and you see where it is that most of those people are actually on. And you can actually get this information probably free now on a lot of websites that you can pretty much figure out where they are. It's not 100% accurate, but I mean, it's pretty good for small businesses and startups. I mean, a lot of people don't have budgets to do these surveys and, a bunch of research, I guess, surveys. So, I mean, for me, if I would do that, that's better than just guessing and, closing your eyes and hoping for the best. Statistics are good, but yeah, that would be my approach for sure.
Okay, so very first step would be statistics, like data analyzing.
Well, yeah, the very first step would be figuring out who your audience is, or trying at least your best to figure out who your audience is and where they hang out for sure. And then figuring out from there finding out those statistics and saying, okay, so if they're going to be on Instagram, I'm going to focus my content on Instagram. I'm going to develop my content specifically for Instagram, right? So Instagram has, let's say, a very good carousel kind of platform, right? So a lot of people are using carousels now, the 10-paging carousels. So I'm going to focus my content for there. Now, where can I repurpose this content? Well, LinkedIn, I can repurpose that on LinkedIn. Facebook, carousels don't really work on Facebook. So I need to maybe, change my strategy for Facebook. But is my audience really on Facebook? Maybe, maybe not. That's depending on who they are. But that's how I would approach it for sure.
Oh, okay. So instead of thinking of so many channels, you definitely specified on one, but at least you give such a room for them to be able to repurpose your content. Let's say this kind of IG talks, right? What I was thinking of very first, because last time we cannot upload it directly to IGTV, so it's tricky, and then we need to re-edit stuff and record stuff again on the screen so that we can pull it up onto YouTube, right? But right now, because somehow IGTV has already come up with you can just upload it directly after we do this live, so it helps so much in terms of saving our time to really edit it. But at the same time, what do you think? Like this audience that are here, let's say in Instagram watching us right now, and hi everyone that's watching, would be much more easier for them to revisit to whatever that we're talking right now, I believe, in YouTube, because it's like a horizontal video landscape. What do you think about that? Should we like really strategize, okay, after this then I need to post it on YouTube and then blah blah blah? How
long does it take you to upload it to YouTube?
How long?
How long does it take you? Yeah. How much effort does it take to upload to YouTube?
I think forever, because I'm not a video person, to be very honest with you. And my guys, I mean, in HigherPurpose, we don't really do video that much. So I think it becomes like a spare time. So I really thank God for this IGTV thing for now. But we are actually bridging there as well, because there are previous talks. Like, I mean, this talk will also be there, I believe, because there are so many things that people can listen to back and forth again.
So for myself, the way I do it is I know my audience is on Instagram, right? I know that majority of my audience is on Instagram. So what I did was I repurposed my current content from Instagram to LinkedIn, right? And the reason I did that was to kind of attract a different type of audience, right? The same people, but on a different platform, and see where they are, what they're about. See the culture that's on LinkedIn. It's quite different than it is on Instagram. So, I mean, it all comes down to whether or not for you, if it's going to take you a lot of time to repurpose that content. Like for me, it's very, very fast, right? All I have to do is take the content that I currently have on Instagram, kind of maybe do a bit of reformatting in terms of, because the audience is a little different there. Maybe if I have a content that's a bit more specific to business and business branding, then that's what I would mostly focus on. And I would just repurpose it. So for me, it's not a lot of hard work. Now, for you, if you're saying that you can just simply upload this to YouTube from the click of a button, I mean, that's a no-brainer. If you have to kind of take this video, chop it up, edit it, and all that jazz, that's all depending on whether or not there's an audience on there for you. Yeah. So, I mean, I know YouTube, and I know that a lot of people there are always looking for, high-res quality imaging, and with the phones, it's a little hard, especially with front-facing cameras and stuff like that. So yeah, it comes down to, I guess, trial and error at that point, because I don't know, YouTube, I'm not sure with YouTube, to be honest. It's not a platform that I'm very familiar with. It's not one that I've explored. It's not one that I've done research on. I kind of stay away from that video content at the moment. So yeah, that's something that it's a bit hard for me to kind of give you a full, confident answer, to be honest.
Yeah, no worries, but your insights are very helpful now. So Julian, I think before I continue towards our questions, there are some questions from the audience right now, and there's one on the question card. Oh, but it got lost. I don't know. They have like notification, but just now it's gone. But I'm gonna read from Zainab here. Zainab saying like, I'm starting my designing business and I'm trying to focus on helping women and promoting their needs and empowering them. How do you think I could go about the content for it on social media and website? Should it be treated differently?
I'm starting my designing. Oh, I see it. I'm starting my designing business and trying to focus on helping women and promoting their needs and empowering them. How do you think I can go about the content for social media? So Zaina, is the business, I don't know if you're still here, but is the business specific on design, or is the business specific on helping women and promoting their needs / empowering them? I'm getting a bit of a confusing line in terms of whether it's design or if you're trying to empower women.
I think it depends. Yeah, like you said, it depends on the product itself. Maybe one reference that you can take a look of, if you are a woman and if you are in design, yes, helping them through design. You can check out Ladies Wine Design. I mean, it's a community design, and I actually founding the Jakarta-based chapter here. But they've done a great job in terms of creating such an online movement and online community to empower women in design.
Who's this? Which?
Do you know Jessica Walsh?
Oh yes, of course.
Of course,
yes,
right?
Of course.
Yeah, so she started Ladies Wine and Design back in 2015, I guess. And it's about empowering women through creativity and design. And maybe that will be such a good reference to this question.
Yes, that's a huge inspiration, actually. That's great. That's a really good place to start, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, just reading the comment here. A cool idea would be collab with women designers and feature them. Well, you also put original content. Yeah, I think. Could you please type that out? Okay, right. Just a second. What do you think about that, Julian?
Sorry, go ahead.
What do you think about that? About initiatives and movements that are somehow, I think, uprising in the media right now, just for a cause type of initiatives?
I think movements and initiatives are great as long as they're, with the good intentions and there's no evil behind them. I think that's great. I mean, initiatives and movements, set the tone for a lot of the way that we think as designers and as humans. So I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. So I think just sharing about Ladies One Design here in Jakarta, when I started that, I honestly started in Instagram. Basically, I don't know who the audience is gonna be and blah blah blah. But then we pull that up, and somehow people do really physically be present at all the events and blah blah blah. But the challenge is like because there's no such thing ever in Jakarta, so it is a little hard introduction, like what is this about, like is this like just girls, ladies drinking wine and then talk about design? But then because there's an element of empowerment there, that's what makes it unique, and they know that it is not just a community where people just hang around and maybe network, but it is also a support system for the people to engage with one another. So it's maybe I think that's one of the very cool reference.
I think that's a good point. I think feeling safe and secure in order to kind of speak your mind is super important. And it kind of ties back into what we spoke a little bit about earlier, about how a lot of people are afraid to speak their truth, right? Yeah. So they kind of just follow along what other people are saying, but deep down inside they have different ideas and they have, different approaches, but that
Yeah.
that fear of talking your truth and then being kind of shamed for it is a scary thing, right? It's a very scary thing. And I went through that and it's super scary. So having that support system and people to back you up and saying, you know what, speak your truth, no matter what you say, will support you and will listen, you know, without judgment. So I think that's very, very strong. It's a very strong thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think because Instagram and social media is very upfront, like people will judge you anyway on what you put out there, no matter how good or no matter how bad the content is. It's just like if you believe in something and you know that it can impact and it can change lives or change the industry whatsoever and make a more meaningful approach to what you're doing, I think you just do it because people will judge anyway, right, Julian?
Always, there's always going to be people judging, and I mean, that's okay. It is what it is, you know. A lot of people, I get a lot of messages saying, you know, I don't know where to start, and I'm scared, and I'm not sure if what I'm going to say is right. And you know what? At the end of the day, especially for personal branding, at the end of the day, it's just social media. It's just social media. It's just have fun with it. Speak your mind, experiment. That's the most important thing. Is experimentation is huge. I mean, I did it, and if I was too scared to do anything, I would, you know, just still be thinking right now what kind of content to provide. And you know, I think experimentation is massive.
Wow. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, like experimentation?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, for me, you know, I started my whole Instagram, I guess, journey was, you know, I would post just what I saw other people posting. You know, I would say, okay, well, this guy's reading a book and, you know, he's posting stuff about that. Let me try that for a little bit. So I tried that for a bit, and you know, it didn't really. It wasn't myself. It wasn't being real to who I was. It wasn't my truth, right? I was just posting other people's experiences and other people's stories and reading books and insights from the books and kind of, you know, talking about those insights, but they weren't who I was. It was just other people's stories and experiences. So I said, you know what, let me start posting about my own experiences and my own stories and stuff that I've done, and, you know, talk about me and what I've done and how maybe other people could relate to my stories. So that was my experimentation. I was really trying to find my truth, and that's not going to come by, you know, sitting around and hoping it's going to fall in your lap. For myself, it needed to really be trial and error. I needed to really focus on just putting out content, you know, trying my best as possible to make it quality, and then really focusing on finding my truth. And that's what it was just experimentation until I found that that click that said, you know what, this is it. I'm going to be talking about this stuff, and that's it. And I don't care what other people think. It's okay, you know, it's fine.
Yeah. So I'd like to highlight that the way when you say experimentation, about exploring things, because like I think the element of experimentation is always there's a failing and there's a success, right? So those touch points, I mean, failing is when you know what works and what don't work. So it's very okay if some content, let's say, if you care so much about the likes and all the engagements, and then you pull up just like one content and then it is sinking so low, just get along with it and maybe try better next time. So I think recollecting experience through your experimentations is kind of the trick as well.
Yeah, definitely. We could look at that for sure. I think also the point you said about, you know, not caring about the likes and the engagement and stuff, that's always tricky, especially with social media. That's always a hard mindset to kind of to let go of. I definitely struggled with that for a while, especially at the beginning. You know, I was, you know, oh, am I getting the likes? Are people liking my stuff? You know, and that's what kind of hindered me, and forced me to kind of still follow those sheep. Like it made me follow the herd, right? I was constantly following the herd because I was like, well, that guy's getting a lot of likes because he's doing it this way. I should really try and copy and manipulate the way he's doing it and make it my own. But it was never really my own. It was just someone else's ideas I was trying to, you know, I felt like a fake at some point. I felt truly like a fake. Like it wasn't myself. I wasn't really focusing on what I liked and what I believed in. So that came with experimentation. It came with trial and error, and it's something that has to be done. I think it's something that you have to break through that point and it's going to come with a bit of courage and a bit of, it's okay to make these, mistakes, or it's okay to talk about what you want to talk about. And I think a lot of people would benefit a ton, and they would actually learn a lot about themselves when talking about that stuff. So yeah, I think for me, that was like a really big breaking point when I said, you know what, it doesn't matter. It's social media. I'm going to have fun with it, and I'm going to talk what I want to talk about. And if you don't like it, that's cool. That's totally fine. And that's it.
Yeah. So that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. And one thing that just popped in my head as well you're explaining is, I don't think that, okay, when maybe personal and also branding as in corporate or for products, you cannot so vibrant in terms of like have so much variation in terms of your content without being consistent to it. Like what I saw from your feeds and your contents are, you're very consistent with it. You have that rhythm, you have that pattern. And can you explain like how do you maintain that so well, and how do it becomes like something that may be addictive for other people to wait and see what you come up with?
I think it comes back down to experimentation and practice, right? I didn't have, at least I don't think I had that rhythm or that consistency, a while back. I mean, that came with time and with seeing what other people were vibing with, and also what made me happy to produce, right? Yeah, I think it comes down to just finding that rhythm and that voice that really speaks to your truth. And then just constantly tweaking areas of the content that really flows better. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to storytelling, right? Yeah. And I wasn't a good storyteller by any means of the imagination. I was pretty bad at it, and I don't think I'm still that great at it, but with practice, I felt like my stories and narratives kind of flowed better, and they made more sense, and they kind of had better endings and better beginnings. So yeah, I think it's just practice, and don't worry about the likes, don't worry about the engagement. The best part about social media is you can post and you could delete, right? So you can literally post something, and if you're not happy with it in a month or 2 weeks, just archive it and move on. Nobody's going to remember it. Nobody's going to print it out and hold it on their wall and send you an email with it. You know what I mean? So don't even worry about that stuff. Just post and that's it until you find your rhythm and your consistency, and it'll come. I mean, I had to post a ton of stuff before, and I actually removed a ton of stuff too on my feed. I'm 100%. I removed, a good maybe 30 posts or something that I found that were probably not the quality that I wanted to be portrayed at the moment. So yeah, it's okay. Just keep posting and have fun. And I think that's a big part of it, is a lot of people lose the fun along the way because of, the hard truth of social media. It can be a very vigorous place on the mind, with the likes and the engagement and the judgment and all that stuff. So I think for me, yeah, I mean, I could relate with those people, but yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And okay, one thing though, like I'm very curious about is like originality, because like when you said that you shared your experience and then we have to share our journey, and social media is like no boundaries, where people can just like pin and repost it everywhere they like in stories, their feeds. Like how do you come across the term originality? How do you make do you think that as brands, or maybe your personal branding, that it's okay for other people to repost it even they don't take your name on it? What do you think about it?
Definitely not. I find a lot of stolen content on a almost daily basis. At this point, it's become normality, and I kind of don't stress over it anymore. I mean, if people want to steal, that's on them. But originality, I don't think originality kind of exists anymore to a certain extent. I mean, I'm not saying to go out and steal content at all. Ideations are something that come now from your peers and from what you're surrounding yourself around. But yeah, if you're gonna, take someone's idea, or if you're gonna repost something from somebody else's content, I think it's very important to give credit to that person. At the end of the day, it's your name that's, on the line. And do you really want to be, seen as somebody that steals and someone that's gonna just, go around and fishing for content that's not yours, and then kind of just repurposing it and saying it as your name? I mean, it sucks, and people do it, and I get it. People want to try and get their foot in the door, and maybe they don't have the courage to do it themselves, and I get that, but I don't think it's the right way and the right approach. I think there's better approaches, and overall, I think, as a human being, it's probably better to take the high road and not steal. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Totally agree with that. Maybe some people are just like stealing things on social media for the very first approach. It's okay to get you on board. I mean, like, jump on the ship from something that maybe you don't really know. Like, it's always uncertainty with the algorithms of Instagram. Like, they can change like very quickly. But at the same time, like, I really like what you say, that you just need to embrace like what and why you are here for some reason, so other people can start to trust and believe in what you're offering. And that's really important, because if you cannot offer what you are made for, then you're just like a copy, like a clone.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And I think that originality that you were talking about really does come from your truth, your transparency. That's where it comes from. Because, like, at the end of the day, there's no same person, right? There's a lot of same stories, maybe, and a lot of different same point of views, but there's no one person that's identical to another, right? So I think your stories and your experiences are the only thing that's going to set you apart, and at the same time be more relatable, especially in content creation. So that's the approach that I would say. And my advice to anybody would say, if you're gonna create content and you have the experience and you have things you can share and transparency, for example, I remember there was somebody that I used to follow a while back, and I can't remember his name now because I don't think he posts anymore, but he was talking about, instead of saying, I'm the expert and I'm the expert in branding and all that stuff, it was more along the lines of, I'm learning branding at the moment, and like, join me on my experience. This is my journey of me, learning how to become a branding expert and stuff like that. So I think that was very powerful, and I was intrigued. I wanted to be part of that journey and learn about the things that he's learning about. You know what I mean? So I think that transparency is very, very, very important.
Wow. Yeah. And I do think that even corporate brands needs to be transparent with their consumers, because what they promise, if it doesn't come from their authenticity, then there will come a time that people will just notice that what you promise is overboard, and you just need to be much more, like you say, relevant and relatable to their daily livings. That's how you impact lives. And by the way, there's Zainab, I think, has been very loyal to us.
Let's answer her question. Let's answer his question.
Just curious, as someone who is working on her own personal branding, what leads you to choose the vibrant green and the name?
Yes. So the simple answer to that is competitors. 100%. So, when I started, the approach that I took was, what colors are my competitors using? And, my competitors, I say that now, but they're all my peers. And, at the end of the day, they are my competitors. A lot of them are, posting the same stuff, or they're, we're in the same space, that we attack the same clientele, we're approaching clientele. So, for me, it was competitors, straight up. I don't believe in a lot of, colors make you feel a certain way. I don't believe in that stuff too quite much. Have my opinions on that, and I created a post on that a while back. But yeah, for me, it was strictly my competitors. Nobody was using that green. Nobody was, in that space. So I took the green and I went with it. At the end of the day, especially with my clients that I work with now, when we're building, building their brand design and brand identity, the approach of the color picking is usually the competitors. Who are your competitors? What colors are they choosing? How are we going to differentiate ourselves? How are we going to stand out from them? And that's it. That's strictly the simplest answer for sure.
That's really cool. So outside from the competitor, does green relate anything to you? Like in your personality or?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Is green, like the green color, does it refer to you as like one of your personality, or is there any relevant to you as in person?
I don't know. I think no. It's for me. I mean, I love the color. If that helps at all. I mean, for me, it was strictly about what's going to make me stand out and differentiate myself from my competitors without being, I did pick a vibrant color because I felt like I'm a very energetic person. I like the vibrancy. It feels like it's very powerful and it has a lot of attention grabbing. It's hard to miss. It's very memorable and it differentiates me from the competitors. That was strictly the main points for me as why I picked that color.
I see. That's cool. And I think she asked like any tips on personal branding, color, name, typeface. That's like the whole identity system we're talking here.
Any tips on personal branding, color, name, and typeface?
Some sort of tips.
Yeah. So I mean, for a name, definitely pick something that's going to roll off the tongue, easy to say, memorable. I mean, for me, Juju is something that is pretty close to me in terms of, when I was a kid, that was my nickname. My first nickname when I was in like preschool or something, one of my teachers called me Juju and it kind of stuck. And also, again,
my nickname is also San here everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So easy to pronounce. Yeah. So easy to pronounce, memorable. You can say it pretty easily. It's easy to spell at the same time. So those are really important factors for name choosing, for sure.
So pick something that's so dear to you, right? Something that you can resemble yourself.
Yeah. I mean, if you can and you can hit all those other checkpoints, and then I would say, yeah, go for it, 100%.
Okay. So, okay, I think I will come back to my questions again. And how to distinguish your personality through content creation?
How to distinguish your personality?
Like what you say just now, standing out from your competitors.
Oh, well, I mean, again, it comes down to transparency. Like I said, no person is the same, right? Everyone's going to have a different voice. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. So it comes down to speaking your own truth and being transparent with that truth and not trying to fluff and excuse language, but not trying to bullshit your way through your content, right? There's a lot of people that try to, fluff it up and BS their way through a lot of stuff. And I mean, it might work at the beginning, but people are not stupid. People are able to kind of figure these things out and do research on you and see where you're at and what you're doing and, the clients you're working with. So, I mean, I think speaking that truth and really being transparent about it is going to allow you to find your voice and differentiate you very, very much from your competitors, 100%.
And I think just being real is really helpful and not superficial, because oh my god, superficial is so tiring. Like if you do it if you do it like a month is okay, but then for the whole entire your journey in Instagram, that's gonna like just being chaos, and you become somebody that actually just a media persona. But in terms of real life, people will be disengaged with you if they, let's say, they invite you to like really talk things through. Then they will feel like a detachment with your contents, with your feeds, and also your own self. So just be real.
Definitely, 100%. I agree.
Oh wow, now the question is, do you focus on what your competitors? How do you follow your own voice? How to be real? It's scary.
It is scary. And that's kind of what we're talking about earlier, is that just posting about what you believe in and what you want to talk about is scary. You're scared of the judgment. You're scared of what if people don't like it? What if people aren't going to engage with it? It's a scary thing. And I think, for me, it took me a long time. Like no lie, it took me a long time to kind of break through that barrier and kind of take the plunge. It's like, when you're in a swimming pool and you're like scared to jump in the water because it's too cold. You're scared. You're like, oh, it's too cold. It's too cold. It's too cold. But then when you do it, you're like, oh, well, it wasn't as bad as I thought. You know what I mean? I did 10 minutes of being scared of jumping in the pool, but then it's just water and it's fine, So, I mean, that's kind of the feeling of once you do it once, you're going to be, oh, okay, well, it wasn't as bad as I thought. You know what I mean? No one's going to attack you, and no one's going to, come at you and tell you, oh no, you're completely wrong. And all these things. I mean, at the end of the day, just I mean, as simple as it is, and it might sound as horrible advice, but just try it. Just do it once, and it's going to get easier and easier and easier, just like everything else you do. Everything else that you repetitively do is going to just get easier, no matter what you do.
Yeah. I think there is this one principle in life that I'd love to help to answer this question, because like you said, I think the most important thing before you start to, for me, social media is a platform to express yourself, and it's not a platform to impress. And when you get into impressing people, you will be a pleaser in terms of you're not resonating with your soul, with your voice. So start to think about how to express rather than impress and gain approval from the people that you want to hit on. So I believe that's one thing that will help you to understand yourself better of what you like and what you don't like, and start to care first more about yourself and then giving away for other people. Because if you don't start with yourself, understanding what you're accustomed with who you are, then it's very hard to be able to give something away for other people, because what you give away is something that is coming from within you, and that's a fruit that somehow they will taste. So it's better to have like a very healthy and also mindful thought about yourself first before you even roll up your and I don't mean that it has to be perfect. It doesn't. I think content never has to be perfect, because it has to have a room where people can be engaged and they can comment stuff and they can somehow correct you or whatsoever. They just do their thing, it's okay. But as long as you just be you, no matter how hard it is for other people to judge you or bring you down, like it's you, like they cannot, as long as you don't give your home address on the front door. If you don't want to get killed, just don't give your address.
I love that. I love that. Express rather than impress. I love that. That's so simple but so powerful. It's great.
Yeah. It makes me not stressful though, like just to think, okay, expressing, not impressing.
But it should be about that. Like it really should be about that, because like you said, it's social media, especially when it comes down to personal branding. Just have fun with it. Literally have fun with it. That's the most important thing. For myself, when I stopped having fun, my content was, it wasn't as good. I was not looking forward to doing it. It just wasn't the same until I started having fun with it, which was, honestly speaking, I started having fun with it quite recently. Within the last, 3 to 4 months is when I really started having fun with the way I was approaching content, which was, trying to incorporate design and telling stories and, speaking my truth. That was those three kind of points that I tried to, annotate together. That was really what set the tone for myself, for sure. Unfortunately, I haven't had the time to post as much recently. That's on me specifically, just because the projects I'm working on are taking up like all of my time. And I'm sorry to my audience that I'm not posting as much as I promised I would. At the beginning of the year, I made a promise saying that I would post a lot more, and I'm not posting a lot. And that's on me. And hopefully that I find time to kind of post some more content soon.
What do you think about using automated machine? Like you just schedule things and then do
Don't
post
do it. Don't do it. Period. Don't do it. I don't do it.
right?
Don't do it. When I started, when I first started on the Instagram journey, I had a posting schedule platform that would like post for me. And honestly, I don't know what it is, but especially if you're not going to be using platforms that are deemed okay by Instagram, because they do have verified platforms, and then there's platforms that are not verified. So you have to be very careful in the ones that are not verified, because that goes against their terms of service. And if they go against their terms of service, they could actually shadow ban you, and you're going to pretty much become non-existent to new audience members. So I would be very, very careful. I post all my content by hand. I don't do any of those platforms. However, there is, for anyone that does not know, there's a Facebook creator, it's called, and that's directly connected to Instagram. It's from Instagram. So it's a free platform, 100% free, and you can go in and schedule posts in there if you so choose to do so.
No,
So,
I just do that.
yeah, it's completely free. It was in beta a while ago. I think it might still be in beta. I'm not sure, but it's 100% free. It's called Facebook Creator. And it's, as long as your Facebook is connected to your Instagram, you could literally post and schedule on there without any issues, without worry of being shadow banned and all that stuff. So yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And the Facebook creator, right? And
Someone said you should post more. Yes, I should post more. You're right. 100%. I don't disagree with you.
okay, wow, there's so many comments. I'm trying to scroll because there's this one question. Have you ever, from Eugene, have you ever feel lost in the middle of your personal contents and the things you created for your clients? Feel lost?
Have you ever feel lost in the middle of your personal contents and the things that you've created for your clients? I think the question is trying to ask on, do you feel confident on the things that you've created? Does that make sense? Do you feel confident in the way?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be doubt, right? I mean, there's doubt with everything. I feel for myself anyway. There's always a bit of doubt, right? Like, did I do a good enough job? Is, the content that I'm going to post today, is it going to be relevant? Are people going to engage with it? And I think it comes back to that mindset of caring about that stuff. And although I say that now, like, it's impossible not to care about it, but as humans, we're going to care, and we want our audience to engage, and we want them to kind of, enjoy the content that we're providing them, especially when you're in the, motivation or educational kind of content. It's important that your audience, relates to that content. And yeah, I think the doubt is always going to be there. But I don't think that it should be a hindering factor in whether or not you are going to post, or whether or not you are going to, create something based on that doubt alone. I think it's important to kind of push that doubt on the side and then just make that step, make that plunge, jump in the pool, right? Post that content and just try it out. So I think doubt is a scary thing, but also at the same time, it can be beneficial in terms of you, perfecting or not perfecting, but maybe, making your content better or refining it rather. That's a better word, right? Doubt can help refine, but don't hinder it and make you not do anything at all and kind of stun you and leave you paralyzed in this state where you're not sure whether or not you should post anything at all just because of doubt, right?
True. Yeah, that's very true. I think loss is just an emotion. Like, you just don't get stuck. You just keep on going if you feel stuck. And there's this one question from, let me pop it up. There you go.
Oh, wow. Cool. Okay, so can you talk a bit about the right hashtag strategy? It doesn't seem to work for my account. Okay, so for myself, hashtag strategy has changed a little bit. I think from, how do I remove it now?
Oh, let me
there you go. So, so hashtag strategy, below 30 hashtags. What I did was, from the beginning of my account, when I was about, let's say, 2,000 to 3,000 followers roughly, I would keep my hashtags in the low brackets. So what I mean by that is I would keep them, let's say I would do 15 of them below 20,000 hashtag views. So let's say 20,000 people follow that hashtag, right? So I would keep more than half of my hashtags within that bracket. And then I would do, let's say 5 of those hashtags around, 100 to 300,000 followers. And then I would do the rest, the remainder of like maybe higher hashtags, just for that hope that it might get some traction, but usually those 5 are not going to do much. So you can even, if you want to really do 20 of the low bracket hashtags and then do maybe 10 of a mid-range bracket hashtags. And as you gain traction, what happens is if you get posted on the top 9, which is basically the top feed, you have a top feed and a most recent feed, right? So if you get featured on the top feed on, let's say, the 20,000 hashtags or so, Instagram is going to see that and they're going to start bumping you to other hashtags that are on the higher brackets. So what you want to do is kind of work your way up the ladder. You don't want to post hashtags that are, in the millions of hashtag followers, because you're not going to get posted on there in the top 9. It's going to be very, very, very hard, right? So what you have to do is you have to trick Instagram and start posting smaller bracket hashtags and start slowly making your way up the brackets. And Instagram's going to see that and they're going to pump you up. So they're going to pump you up on, say, the 20,000 hashtags one week. And then maybe the next week, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to do 50 to 100,000 this week. And they're going to start pumping you in there. And basically that's how you kind of gain that momentum.
Tonight, can we get right? Tonight, can we get